So you won't take down lies, or you will take down lies? I think it's just a pretty simple yes or no.
Congresswoman,
I'm not talking about spin. I'm talking about actual
yes, in most cases,
disinformation.
in a democracy, I believe that people should be able to see for themselves what politicians that they may or may not vote for
So
are
you
saying,
won't take
judge
them
their
down.
character for themselves.
Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg's shady business has been exposed to the world. A former Facebook employee had some pretty choice words for the social media mogul and his billion-dollar brainchild. It was so bad, the details were presented to the U.S. Congress. But how does Zuckerberg feel about having his dirty laundry exposed? Let's see how he's reacted to this huge scandal. The story so far. Just in case you've skipped the news lately, we don't blame you. It's crazy out there. Here's a recap of what we know so far. Former Facebook employee Frances Haugen has leaked official documents to the Wall Street Journal and U.S. law enforcement. The documents expose how Facebook has been lying to its users. Yes, that includes you. Apparently, the company had been fighting against hate, misinformation, and violence, but this turned out to be completely false. In fact, it seems like Facebook hasn't taken any positive action at all. According to Haugen, Facebook was more concerned with making more money than looking out for its consumers. Haugen joined Facebook back in 2019 after more than a decade of working for the likes of Google and Pinterest. So it's safe to assume she knows what she's talking about. She wanted to fight against misinformation, and working for the largest social media platform in the world seemed like the right place to be. However, Facebook was not willing to commit to making any changes that could help its users. Haugen made it clear that Zuckerberg didn't have some sort of evil plan to make consumers miserable, but his decisions still had consequences, and not acting at all may have been one of the worst things to do. Any policy changes that could have been progressive were taken away. Facebook's algorithm was changed to make it safer for users, but it meant users would spend less time on the site and click fewer ads. Less ads means less money, something Zuckerberg just can't deal with. Haugen also argued that Facebook knew Instagram was damaging to young people's mental health. Some of the leaked documents included Facebook's own research that stated 30% of teens didn't like their bodies, and they felt that Instagram was making it worse. Haugen stated that Facebook knew it was driving teens towards harmful content that had negative effects on their self-image and mental health. She even described the photo app as like cigarettes for young people. Haugen is leading the change against Facebook to hold Zuckerberg and his entire company accountable. She wants there to be more honesty to the public, as no one can understand Facebook's destructive choices better than Facebook. But did you think that Zuckerberg was going to take this lying down? Certainly not. Zuckerberg bites back. In classic Zuckerberg fashion, he turned to Facebook to issue a long blog post in response to Haugen's allegations. He slammed the accusations that were presented, saying that they were not true and deeply illogical. He's not happy with being exposed and looking shady, but the blog post feels like Zuckerberg is kind of exposing himself. Zuckerberg's response was pretty defensive. It didn't address the issues that Haugen outlined. He just asked more questions. For instance, when he spoke about the issue of teenage mental health, Zuckerberg simply stated, if we wanted to ignore research, why would we create an industry-leading research program to understand these important issues in the first place? This doesn't just happen once. Throughout Zuckerberg's entire statement, he never actually talks about the issues raised. He just uses phrases like, if we did, followed by, why would we? The whole thing kind of feels like he's gaslighting Facebook users. A huge part of gaslighting is to make someone question their sanity. However, it seems that Haugen's accusations touched a nerve. Zuckerberg went in and told his employees that many wouldn't recognize the company and that Haugen's accusations were simply a false picture. He did everything he could to lessen the damage by making Haugen seem unreliable and like she was lying to defame his entire social media empire. If Zuckerberg is going to all that trouble to avoid being accountable, then what exactly is he hiding? What skeletons does he have in his closet? Did Facebook start a riot? One of the main parts of Haugen's accusations includes Facebook showing and spreading misinformation. More specifically, how Facebook played a role in the riot on Capitol Hill. On January 6, 2021, supporters of former President Donald Trump stormed the United States Capitol to try and overturn his defeat. The building had to be evacuated as rioters vandalized and caused chaos for several hours. How did Facebook play a role in this exactly? Well, following the 2020 presidential elections, Facebook stopped the measures they had put in place to stop hateful and false content. This job was left to the civic integrity team, who vowed to always put users first before Facebook's profit. It's a pretty weird move to disband the team charged with protecting Facebook users, but that's exactly what happened. A significant part of Haugen's exposure showed that Facebook knew the algorithms pushed false content onto its users and gave a space for conspiracy groups to grow into something catastrophic. It may be comforting to know that even though Zuckerberg may be problematic, his staff aren't all that bad. In fact, there were efforts made by Facebook staff to try and create positive change, but they were shot down. Following the incident on Capitol Hill, Facebook employees were extremely frustrated. They described the situation with Facebook as out of control. They weren't at all surprised with how the social media platform had led to such an escalated event. Former employees claim that the management got tired of being criticized and didn't put plans in place to fix the issues that were being brought up. There were nearly 40,000 reports of fake news per hour on Facebook during the siege on Capitol Hill. On Instagram, the account which was reported the most for inciting violence was Donald Trump's official account. Facebook's integrity team even proposed a way to change the algorithms that would stop harmful content. Zuckerberg refused and focused on engagement and getting more users. There were even incidents of serious criminal activity reported by Facebook employees, but no action was taken by executives because they didn't want to affect company growth. Once again, Facebook hit back at these accusations, placing the blame solely on the rioters themselves and their supporters. It's true, Zuckerberg didn't exactly lead the attack on Capitol Hill, but his platform allowed such people to incite hatred and spread false information. How does Facebook harm its users? One of the main purposes of Facebook and its sister app Instagram is to keep users scrolling for as long as possible. The data essentially assumes that we would like to see and hook users into scrolling for longer, even provoking reactions. Surely, people want to be exposed to content that could suit them. Well, the main issue is that these tailored recommendations can often encourage dangerous and toxic behaviors. Harmful content can get mixed up in these recommendations and send users into dark places. Facebook even conducted its research, which said teen users felt worse about themselves when they saw images related to beauty and would compare themselves to others. Facebook knew that its algorithms led to addictive behaviors, but simply labeled it as problematic use. So, if Facebook knew about all of its problems, why did they hide them? And why did Zuckerberg fail to mention any of the Facebook studies in his blog post? A fresh start. In an odd turn of events, it was recently reported that Facebook will be completely rebranding, with Zuckerberg potentially announcing a new name very soon. His big plan is to make Facebook into a metaverse, an online virtual platform where people would use avatars to interact with each other. The whole idea is similar to Ready Player One, where people escape reality into a virtual world. Naturally, the internet has been joyfully guessing what name Zuckerberg will come up with. Still, it's not all fun and games. Facebook's reputation has been damaged, and the public isn't likely to forget its shady dealings. It could be that the metaverse is just a distraction, and once again, Zuckerberg still isn't addressing the issues within his own company. Zuckerberg seems to be in some serious hot water. Could this be the beginning of the end for Facebook? While we wait for more shady details to be exposed, let us know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button.